If I were to tell you that I have mixed feelings about a certain book, the storyline, the fable, the arc therein, it would be very unprofessional of me, since I would assume that you, in all honesty, would ask yourself, your feelings? Why should I trust that guy's feelings? And I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just here to make a few points in broad outline regarding Silas Marner by George Eliot, otherwise known as Mary Ann Evans Cross. She was born on a farm. Much of this is about farm and or village life. From a superficial glance, you might think that she knew her stuff, and you wouldn't be wrong. The first 30 pages of this novel were rife with the kinds of observations about human beings that really sets my literary balls on fire, insofar as this woman wanted to take a microscope to the suggestibility of the shape which a human nose takes, or the way eyes dart, or a wardrobe that neglects a black gown that otherwise would be reserved for funerals, but instead has some deeper, eclectic purpose in the closet. Now, those are all silly forms of nomenclature which I've made up, but they run the contours of what this writer does with the style of scrutinizing human nature. Silas Marner is about a man who's a silk weaver. He's in his biological prime during the first few waves of the Industrial Revolution. So if you as a reader are fascinated by the ways in which technology has the potential, even by osmosis, to oppress individual autonomy, if you sense that the specialization, which is nearly an intrinsically coercive element within the bulwark and infrastructure of getting things done on a mass scale, you will begin to understand, if you haven't already, the ways in which self-enlightenment is systematically removed, even if by implicit means, because, let's not forget, we are animalistic entities. We do tend to register signals of all kinds, even if we cannot, at the same time, proffer the adequate interpretation, if there is only one, to any given said phenomena in the social domain. And by that, I simply mean more than one. Okay. Now, George Eliot is very logistical She's very rigorous. She has an eye for detail. And I felt that something of the character development was sacrificed along the way for the sake of tying together those inevitable plot lines which the half-dead dog is still barking and the horse is neighing under the pressure of, "Come on, can we get some resolution, please?" Now, in terms of studying human ignorance, this woman is one of the fastest reads that I've encountered. You can tell that she spent a lot of time cloistered by herself, shamelessly picking apart the ins and outs of the human psyche. The warmer, less, I suppose you could say, objective aspect of her literary demeanor is that I would not say that she is a high-strung moralist, because she knows her art and her craft too well to permit those passions to get the best of her. And if you investigate some of her not accidental autobiographical jottings, in the sense that people wrote letters back in the day, and who does it now? Well, who knows? And so Silas the Weaver is falsely accused, and we have a bit of a Count of Monte Cristo theme in the very, very, very beginning, because you have the premise of a best friend who goes for the gold and the wife and will bludgeon all historical memory of his friend for the sake of a greed which is surreptitiously, cleverly hidden by a brash, nihilistic sort of man who may have deep questions about the workings of reality, but he's just so busy elevating himself to maybe just right below the life of the party. Because if you're a villain, you've got to keep that undercover, especially if you're parading around high society. And during the 1800s, mid-1800s, when this takes place, the village of Ravelot is that analog to the sorts of culturally appropriated wealth you might expect to be surrounded by today if you are lucky, or if that is your calling, or if you're kidnapped and shown the works. There are many ways to perceive the light. So Silas exiles himself because this is a deeply superstitious community. These weavers who utilize the loom, this is their livelihood. This is the form in which their thoughts perambulate. And Silas, when he is in his darkest, most miserable, most isolated hours, attaches himself to the loom. And so we have a recurring theme of how different kinds of people in various economic and otherwise circumstances attempt to fill the void in their life if it's not already being filled by balls and dances and preparation for marriage. So, this is a book which is a study of prejudice, religious saturated impulses, ways in which the layers of duplicity may be removed when systems are shown for what they are worth. Consider that.